The rope creaked before the sun came up. The sound cut through the air like a blade. I stood in the cold courtyard, my hands shaking. The crowd was quiet. Only the wind moved between us, cold and sharp, like it knew what was coming. They brought Elara out in chains. Her feet dragged on the dirt, but her back stayed straight. Her hair was loose, dark against her white dress. The judge stood behind her, his black coat clean and proud. I knew him well. Everyone did. Judge Rowan, the voice of the law. "Do you have any last words?" he asked. Elara lifted her head. Her eyes found mine. "You," she said softly. "Come closer." My feet didn't want to move, but I did. The soldiers stepped aside. I stopped in front of her. Her breath looked like smoke in the cold air. "I didn't kill him," she whispered. "You know that." "I don't know anything," I said, my throat dry. She gave a small, tired smile. "Yes, you do." "You just don't want to." The judge nodded to the hangman. "Enough," he said. "Justice is not a debate." Elara turned her head again, her voice barely a breath. "Don't trust the judge." Then the hood came down. The lever dropped. The rope went tight. The crowd gasped once, then silence swallowed everything. Her body swung against the pale sky. The sound of it, the creak, the soft crack, stayed in my ears. I wanted to look away, but I couldn't. The judge's voice broke through the quiet. "Let this be a lesson," he said. "Law is truth. Truth is law." People nodded. Some even clapped. I wanted to shout, to say something, but nothing came. My chest hurt, like the air itself turned to stone. After it was done, they left her there, hanging, until the sun rose high. I walked closer when the courtyard emptied. Her shadow stretched across the dirt. I reached out, my fingers shaking, and touched her shoe. It was still warm. "Why would you tell me that?" I whispered. The wind didn't answer. That night I couldn't sleep. The rope sound echoed inside my head again and again. I saw her eyes, the way they looked right through me. My sister Clara knocked on my door. "You're still awake?" she asked. "I can't sleep," I said. She sat at the edge of my bed. "You were there?" "Yes." "Did she say anything before?" I nodded. "She said not to trust the judge." Clara frowned. "Everyone trusts the judge." "Maybe that's the problem." She touched my arm. "You should forget it. You can't help her now." "I know," I said. But I didn't mean it. The next morning I went to the courthouse early. The judge was already there, drinking coffee, smiling. "You did well yesterday," he told me. "Strong men stand with the law." "She said something before she died," I said. He raised an eyebrow. "They all do. Fear makes people talk nonsense." I nodded, but my heart didn't believe him. He smiled again. "Don't think too hard, son. Thinking breaks faith. Faith." That word hit me like a punch. Later I went to the courtyard again. The gallows stood empty, but the rope was still there. I looked up at it. The sky behind it was gray, heavy with dust. Marshal Doone walked up behind me. "Still thinking about her?" he asked. "Yes. She killed the merchant." "The law is clear. Did you see it happen?" I asked. He smirked. "I saw what I was paid to see." My chest burned. "Paid?" He gave a cold laugh. "You're new here. You'll learn how things work." He walked away, boots crunching on gravel. That night I wrote in my notebook. She said not to trust the judge. I wrote it 10 times until the ink ran. I didn't know why I cared. Maybe because she looked at me like I was the last person who could save her. And I didn't. Clara brought me soup. "You're shaking again," she said. "I'm fine." "No, you're not. I should have done something." "Done what?" "You're just a clerk." I could have spoken up. She sighed. "It's too late." "Yes," I said. Too late for her. Maybe not for me. When the wind blew that night, I swore I heard her voice again. It wasn't a dream. It was something else. Like the earth itself was whispering her warning. "Don't trust the judge." I walked outside. The moonlight painted the yard silver. The rope still hung from the gallows, swaying in the wind. I stood there for a long time, staring up. "I don't know what you meant," I said quietly. "But I'll find out." The wind stopped for a moment. Then the rope creaked once, soft, slow, like it agreed. The morning felt cold, even under the sun. They called me to the office again. I had to sign her death papers. My hands trembled as I held the pen. The ink bled on the paper like guilt. "Come on," the clerk said. "It's just a form." "Yeah," I whispered. just a life on paper. I saw her name, Elara Ward. The words beside it, executed at dawn. My stomach turned. When I stepped outside, the sky looked pale. The bell tower rang, long and empty. The burial was set for noon. The judge said it was procedure. Elias, the gravedigger, waved when I arrived. He was tall, thin, with a face like dried wood. "You come to see her off?" he asked. "I worked the papers," I said. "Feels wrong not to." He nodded. "You've got more heart than the rest." We walked to the edge of the yard. The hole was already dug. Her body lay in a thin box. They hadn't even given her a proper coffin. Elias crossed himself and muttered, "God forgive this town." The marshal stood nearby, smoking. "Let's finish," he said. "We've got trials to run." I looked at him. "You ever think she was innocent?" He smiled without warmth. "Innocent people don't whisper lies to judges." He flicked the cigarette and walked away. The silence after he left was heavy. I knelt beside the box. Elias lifted the lid halfway, his eyes narrowing. "Wait," he whispered. "Something's off." "What?" I asked. He leaned closer, squinting. Then he pulled back, pale. "There's something in her mouth." My breath caught. "You mean—" He nodded. "Look." He reached inside, slow and careful, and drew out a small folded paper, damp, stained, hidden beneath her tongue. "A letter. It's addressed to you," he said quietly. "Your name's on it." I felt my chest tighten. "That's not possible." "She barely knew me." Elias shook his head. "Maybe she knew more than you think." I unfolded it with shaking fingers. The writing was faint, but clear. He promised me freedom. He lied. They all did. Below, 3 names were written in uneven lines. Judge Rowan, Marshal Dune, Mayor Calder. The wind picked up, lifting dust across the grave. I read it again and again. Each name felt like a wound. Elias looked at me. "What does it mean?" I swallowed hard. "It means she wasn't lying. They killed her because she knew the truth." He crossed his arms. "And now you know it too." We stood there for a long time. The sound of crows echoed over the field. Finally he said, "You better burn that. Men have died for less." I shook my head. "No, I'll keep it," he sighed. "Then you'd better be careful." "I've already buried my fear," I said. "Might as well dig up the rest." Elias dropped the lid shut. The thud made me flinch. He picked up his shovel. "Want to say something before I cover her?" I looked at the ground. I didn't believe her, I said softly. "I should have." He waited. "You want to put something in?" I took off my glove and set it on top of the box. "That's all I can give. One hand that should have helped sooner." He started to shovel the dirt. Each strike sounded like thunder. When the grave was half full, he stopped. "You know what happens when you dig too deep?" I met his eyes. "You find what they tried to hide." He smiled, just barely. "Good luck, boy. You'll need it." I left before the hole was filled. My boots sank into the mud. My heart felt heavy as lead. Back in my room, I placed the letter on the table. The ink was fading, but her words stayed clear. "He promised me freedom." He lied. I couldn't stop hearing her voice. The way she'd whispered, "Don't trust the judge." I poured a drink, but didn't touch it. My hand still shook. The lamp flickered, and shadows danced across the walls. I kept reading the names: Judge Rowan, Marshal Dune, Mayor Calder. Men I saw every day, men who smiled in public and killed in silence. I whispered to myself, if they buried her truth, I'll dig it up. The night grew colder. I folded the letter, placed it in my coat pocket, and blew out the lamp. Outside, thunder rolled far away. Somewhere in the dark, I swore I heard her voice again, quiet, broken, but real. "Find me justice!" I closed my eyes. "I will," I said. "I promise." When I opened them again, morning light touched the window. A new day, and my first step toward the truth. I pushed open the courthouse door and breathed dust. The hole smelled like paper and oil. My hands shook, but I walked anyway. I told myself, act calm, act normal. I needed truth more than fear today. A clerk frowned near the stairs. He said, "You look pale." I said, "Long night. I need the judge." He said, "Rowan is busy with law." I said, "He will see me now." I reached the Oak office and knocked. "Come," his warm voice said. I stepped in and kept my face still. He smiled like sunrise over money. "Sit," he said. You look tired. I said, I did not sleep, sir. He poured tea and watched my hands. Guilt marks the righteous, he said. Do not carry hers, he added softly. My mouth dried, but I held steady. I said, I only carry my work. He said, work eases pain. He pushed the cup closer to me. My eyes found a gold pen shining. Elara wrote of that pen in blood. I said, fine pen. New, I think, he said. A gift from a friend. He tapped it. Light flashed once. I saw my eyes in the barrel. His smile did not reach his eyes. I said, I filed the death papers. He said, hard duty, yet justice needed. I said, justice needed truth, not speed. He said, truth came first in this case. I said, her letter said something else. His fingers stilled. His voice stayed sweet. He said, letters are tools of grief. I said, letters can hold secret truth. He said, secrets rot a town, boy. I said, silence rots the soul instead. He faced the window as rain fell. He said, you lost someone, yes? I said, we all lost someone tonight. He said, trust the court and rest. I stood and faced his back. I said, I promise to serve law. He said, then obey and let go. I said, I promise to serve justice. The word hung heavy like a rope. He turned, slow, like a snake. His gold pen rested near my hand. He said, do not fight what is done. I said, some graves were dug by law. He said, you speak bold for a clerk. I said, I speak as a man. He said, men die for pride. I said, I remember her eyes. Silence spread across the rug. He said, go home. Forget this. I said, I will go now. But I left with the pen's shine inside. Outside rain met my face. I walked to the tavern for light. The room smelled like smoke and dust. I ordered coffee, not whiskey. I needed a clear head and hope. Marshal Doone sat beside me unasked. He said, you met Rowan today. I said, I met him in his pen. He said, pens are safe. Guns speak louder. I said, guns and truth. Pens record it. He leaned in close and lowered his voice. He said, some graves are better closed. I said, some graves hide the guilty. He said, you dig, you find death. I said, I already saw death swing. He drummed fingers on wood. He said, you want trouble or peace? I said, I want truth and justice. He said, truth costs money and blood. I said, I will pay what I must. He said, you will pay with home. I said, home means nothing without trust. He said, trust the law or leave. I said, law is not the judge. He smiled like cut glass. He said, you think Rowan fears you? I said, he fears a letter. He said, what letter? Speak. I said, a letter with 3 names. His smile died. His eyes burned. He said, you talk too much. I said, safety died at dawn. He said, you loved her then? I said, I love the truth she carried. He said, drop it or meet the rope. I said, I already met the rope. Silence sat between us like iron. He rose, dropped coins, and left. He said, night comes fast, hide. I waited until the room thinned. Rain beat time on the roof. I spread notes on the table. Names, dates, money lines, places. Every lie I marked in red ink. I asked the barkeep for the mayor. He said Ma called her drinks and back. I asked about deals with the judge. He said, I hear coins, not words. I tipped him and kept my seat. 2 men whispered by the stove. I caught grave, letter, and Rowan. Their eyes slid away when I looked. I wrote the words down, steady. A boy ran in with a note. He said, Ma, from the widow Finch. I opened it and read fast. Come at night. I have proof. My breath stuck. Proof meant light. I folded the note and rose. The marshal watched me from shadows. I said, I go for air. He said, air turns to storm. I said, storms wash lies off streets. He said, streets also wash blood. I said, then let them wash mine. He took my wrist, hard as iron. He said, Rowan owns the road tonight. I said, then I will take fields. He let go and I left fast. Rain hit like gravel on my face. I walked toward the widow's lane. The night smelled of wet earth. My boots slapped puddles like drums. A bell rang once behind me. I did not turn or slow. The judge's smile burned in memory. I said to the rain, not today. The wind hissed, and I kept walking. The widow's lamp burned like a star. I said, "Hold, ma'am, it is me." Her voice came thin through the door. "Quiet, the judge has ears." I stepped inside and shut the light. The rain started before midnight. The town slept. I didn't. I waited behind the church until I saw Elias with his lantern. He whispered, "You sure about this?" I nodded. "I need to see her." He sighed. "Graves don't like to be opened." "I don't like lies," I said. "Let's dig." The shovel hit wet dirt again and again. Rain mixed with sweat. Mud swallowed my boots. Elias muttered, "She didn't deserve this." "No," I said. "She deserved freedom." We dug for what felt like hours. The coffin appeared, black, soaked, quiet. I froze. My heart thumped in my ears. Elias looked at me. "You ready?" "No," I said. "But do it anyway." He pried the lid open. The smell hit us first. Damp earth, decay, and regret. Lantern light fell on her face. Elara looked peaceful, too peaceful. Rain dripped on her cheek like tears that never stopped. I whispered, "I'm sorry." Elias touched her arm. "Look." Her wrist showed dark bruises, thick, deep, and wrong. "Those aren't from hanging," he said. My voice cracked. "Then what?" He pointed. "Rope burns, but not from above. From hands, I felt cold crawl up my spine. She was strangled," Elias said. "Before the hanging," I shook my head. "No, the judge said—" He cut me off. "The judge lies. Everyone knows it." The rain got harder. It hit her coffin like a drum. I stared at her wrists, her neck, her still face. I saw the truth. She had fought for breath. Elias whispered, "What now?" I said, "Doc Vexler. He'll know." He grabbed my sleeve. "You'll hang for this if they find out." "I already buried the truth once," I said. "Not again." We carried her to the doctor's shed behind the tavern. Every creak of the wheels sounded like thunder in my chest. When we arrived, the doctor opened the door, half asleep, eyes wide. "What in God's name—" he started. I cut him off. "You said you wanted proof." "Here it is." He stared at Elara's face. "You shouldn't have done this." "Just look at her," I said. He sighed, lit a lamp, and put on gloves. Elias stood by the door, watching the rain pour outside. Doc touched her wrist. "Bruising before death." "You see?" I nodded. He moved to her neck. "These marks. Too wide for rope." It was a man's hands. I swallowed hard. "Then she didn't hang herself," I said. He met my eyes. "No, she was murdered." My stomach turned. The air felt heavy. The doctor lowered his voice. "You need to leave this town. The judge will kill you next." I clenched my fists. "Not until everyone knows what he did." Elias said, "You can't fight the law." I looked at Elara. "Then I'll stop following it." The doctor frowned. "You'll die," I said. "Maybe, but not before I make him pay." He grabbed my arm. "Think about what you're saying." "I have," I said, every night since she whispered those words. The lamp flickered. The rain grew louder. I could almost hear her voice again. "Don't trust the judge." It wasn't a warning anymore. It was a command. Elias said, "You want me to bury her again?" "No," I said. "She stays here safe." He nodded. "Then what do you want from me?" I looked at him. A shovel, some whiskey, and silence. He managed a sad smile. "You're digging more than graves now." I didn't answer. I was already thinking about the courthouse. The walls, the pen, the gold, the lie, everything connected. Every piece fit too well. Doc Vexler blew out the lamp. "She's gone," he said softly. I said, "No, not yet." I stepped into the rain. Cold drops hit my face like small knives. Behind me, Elias whispered a prayer. I didn't. I had stopped believing in mercy. The sky cracked with lightning. For a second, the town looked awake. The gallows, the church, the courthouse. Every building built on her bones. Every lie written in her blood. I whispered to the storm, "I'll finish what you started, Elara." The rain carried my words away. Elias called after me, "What will you do?" I said, "Break the law." Then I walked into the dark, leaving the dead behind. "Order," the bailiff said. "Order," Judge Rowan said loud. "You will listen," he said. "You will obey," he smiled. I sat very still. I watched his face. He wore a fine coat. A gold pen sat on his desk. This court stands for truth, he said. This court stands for God, he said. This court stands for law, he said. Did you see her? A woman asked. Yes, I said. I saw her eyes. They called her mad, the woman said. They called her guilty, I said. Rowan looked at me. His eyes were cold. He spoke like a preacher. Justice is blind, he said. I felt anger rise. My hands were still. I counted his lies. They were many. Where is the gold? One man asked. Where is the land sold? Another said. Rowan laughed small. This town moved on, he said. Mayor Calder sat close by. He touched the pen. His initials were on it. They matched the deed after court people left. They whispered low. Fear sat heavy in their mouths. They feared his smile. I found Clara on the steps. She looked pale. Did you hear? She asked. I heard enough, I said. They spoke of a child, she said. A child, I asked. They said the girl's child, she said. Elara had a son, I said. Where is he? Clara cried. Safe, I hope, I said. Safe? She shook her head. They will find him, she whispered. They will kill him, I said. Clara gripped my arm. Tell me you'll help, she begged. I will, I said. I swear it, Clara's eyes shone. How will you stop them? She asked. I will find proof, I said. I will bring light, I said. That night I walked the streets. The moon was thin. The town slept uneasy. The law slept with secrets. I went to Doc Wexler. He sat by a dim light. You look like fire, he said. Fire burns men, I said. Who burns? He asked. The judge, I said. He hides in robes, I said. Rowan sells land in silence, Doc said. I found a mark, I said. A gold pen with Calder's mark, I said. Doc's eyes widened. That ties them, he said. Proof will free her name, I said. Proof will save a child, Doc said. Be careful, he warned. Careful never moved a mountain, I said. Doc rubbed his chin slow. He is clever and cruel, he said. He hides his tracks well, I said. We need witnesses, Doc said. Mrs. Finch kept a note, I said. She saw Elara taken, Doc said. Then we go to her, I said. At dawn, Doc agreed. I rode to Mrs. Finch's house. She poured tea slow. Did you know Elara? I asked. I did, she said. A brave girl. Where is the boy? I asked. He is hidden, she said. He draws stars, she smiled. Stars for his mother, she said. Will you bring him to me? I said. I will if you ask me, she said. I ask, I said. Back at the inn, Clara hugged me hard. Be safe, she said. Bring him home, she whispered. I will, I said, and meant it. At midnight I sat by the fire. I folded the confession like a knife. I will not be the law, I said. I will be the hand, I said. The night listened and kept my vow. I went to the courthouse at night. I moved like a shadow. The moon cut the steps. My breath came hot. I found a window unlocked. I climbed in silent. The old floor smelled of paper. Ledgers slept in rows. I read the names and sums. Ink changed hands like blood. I found deeds with a pen mark. The mark matched the gold. I found a sealed letter. I opened it with shaking hands. Rowan had written to Calder. I silenced her, the letter said. Keep this quiet, it said. My hand shook hard. I put the letter close. The paper felt heavy. A board creaked loud. Footsteps filled the hall. I hid among books. Marshal Doone stepped in. You shouldn't be here, he said. I had to, I said. He killed her, I said. He hanged a lie, I said. Doone laughed low. You will leave, he said. You will forget, he said. You will live with a quiet heart, he said. No, I said. I will not forget. Doone moved fast. He reached for me. I pushed a shelf down. Books fell like rain. Noise filled the room. He lunged at me then. We fought in the dark. I bit and I struck. He fell with a cry. He grabbed my arm once. I broke his hold. I ran into cold night. I ran with the confession. Smoke rose behind me. I set flame to the ledger. Paper ate the light. The courthouse tasted of ash. People screamed awake. I rode before dawn. I thought of Elara and her son. I thought of Clara's fear. I knew the judge had a rope. I knew the law wore a mask. I swore to protect the child. I rode with fire in my chest. Dawn found me on the road. My horse knew the way. I rode toward truth and toward a child's small light. I rode on. I came for truth, I whispered as I entered. It smells of oil and old paper, I said. Where are the records? I asked the dark shelf. Show me names, I said and ran my hand. Pay to the mayor, I read aloud slow. Sign here, I mouthed, pointing with my finger. They paid with land, I said, voice low. They bought silence, I said to the night hard. To bury her name, I read with anger. This is proof, I said and laughed low. He wrote a letter, I told the dark room. He wrote he did it, I said soft. He asked for mercy, I read and felt cold. Take this, I said and folded the page tight. This will wake the town, I told the paper. They will know, I said and gripped it close. I will not let her die forgotten, I said. The halls smelled of oil and old paper, I said. I moved slow with the moon as guide, I said. Dust rose when I pulled the ledger free, I said. Names on the page looked like small graves, I told the room. The confession lay sealed in yellow paper, I read soft. It had his hand, his fear, his guilt, I said. I kept it folded close against my chest, I said. Outside, a wind hit the courthouse stones hard, I said. My heart beat loud like the courthouse bell, I said. My hands shook, but I walked to the stair, I said. Every step felt like theft and truth both, I said. I thought of Elara and the hush she had, I said. Her whisper flicked in my ear like fire, I said. I had no right to let it rest, I said. This was the last thing she gave me, I said. This paper was now my small, fierce oath, I said. I tucked it safe and kept my breath slow, I said. I read the bribe list and felt sick. They sold land for coin and silence. The mayor signed. The judge took gold. They killed her to hide their shame. I will tell them every name. Burn it all, and let truth fly. I will not let her die forgotten. I read the bribe list and felt sick. They sold land for coin and silence. The mayor signed. The judge took gold. They killed her to hide their shame. I will tell them every name. Burn it all, and let truth fly. I will not let her die forgotten. I read the bribe list and felt sick. They sold land for coin and silence. The mayor signed. The judge took gold. They killed her to hide their shame. I will tell them every name. Burn it all, and let truth fly. I will not let her die forgotten. Who is there? A voice cut from the stair. Show yourself, it said sharp and mean. It is Dune, I whispered when I saw him. You should not be here, he said slow. Get out, he warned with a hard tone. I needed the truth, I said, and stood tall. I will show them, I promised fierce. You steal fire, he said with a laugh mean. You will burn, he spat and stepped close. Drop it, he said and reached my coat. This ends tonight, he said, teeth tight. I am not the law, I said back quiet. I am the man with her letter, I said. You will not stop this, I told him flat. Then stop me, I said, and moved like a blade. We hit and fell among wood and old files. His torch spun and sent moons of light. My hand found the confession in my coat. I struck his leg and watched him stumble. He cursed and reached for his gun slow. We rolled under a shelf and bumped our heads. The matchbox hit the floor and skittered. Burn it, I said, and struck a match quick. Set the lies to flame, I cried out strong. Stop, he screamed and went for my arm. You will not, I said and pushed the shelf. Let the walls fall, I told the smoke and night. The lamplight painted thin gold on shelves. Shadows curled in the corners like old lies. Paper smelled warm and dry like old wood. Smoke from a candle made small gray rings. Cold air came through a cracked window pane. Wood creaked softly when we hit the floor. Flames would soon eat the courthouse roof timbers. Rain promised to wash ash and truth both. He wrote it plainly, his hand full of shame. I will ride this paper into the town square. They will read his name and feel it burn. They will not sleep under the same roofs. This is for her, I said, and held tight. For all who had their mouths closed. For every child left without a voice. I will not let them sleep peaceful. I will not be kind to liars. The law is a skin they wore. Now, the law will face its own skin. Let men feel cold where they felt safe. I struck a match and felt the heat near. The paper bent and blackened at the edge. Smoke rose and tasted of old truth and ash. Heat moved under my skin like a live thing. I ran for the door through smoke and sparks. Outside the night had become light with flame. I held the confession like a child close. Rain hit my face and made me feel clean. Tell the town, I said to empty streets and sky. Tell them who sold our land and our names, I yelled. She will know, I said, and rode away fast. I will make it right, I promised to the wind. I rode into night, keeping my oath. I stood at the judge's porch until dawn. The house was quiet. He opened the door slow. He wore a clean shirt. He poured a drink and smiled like a man with no fear. I walked up the steps. My boots left wet marks in the frost. He did not reach for a gun. I set the paper on his table. The confession lay flat. His name was on every line. He did not flinch. He let the lamp burn. You think this scares me? He said. His voice was smooth. You think truth harms men like me? I spoke short. You killed her. I pushed the paper. He sipped his drink. He laughed soft. You are a clerk, he said. You are small in law. He smiled wide. Who will believe you? I wrote to the paper, I said. I sent copies. My hands did not shake now. I looked at him hard. He frozen for a breath. Then his smile fell. You did what? He stood slow. His hand moved for his pistol. His fingers closed on leather. I moved first. I hit his wrist. He cursed. The chair fell. The lamp tipped. His drink spilled warm. I grabbed his coat. I smelled brandy. I pulled him down the steps. He blinked, blinded. His pistol fell. I stepped on it. Do not scream, I said. Do not call men. I pushed him toward the yard. The air bit my cheeks. The gallows stood near the barn. The wood was old. The rope hung ready. I saw her face in the loop. I felt the ground shake under truth. He tried to laugh once. You will be hanged too, he said. You will break the law. The law will take you, maybe, I said. My voice was a thin rope. Maybe the law will do its work. I looked at his eyes. Maybe the law will hang me. That is a fine trade. I stepped close. I felt his breath. He smelled of fear now. He begged then. Not for life. For silence. I will pay you, he said. I will give you coin. I will make you rich. His voice shook. I will spare your sister. I will fix things. I thought of Clara. I thought of the bright child at home. I thought of the way Elara waved at dawn. I thought of her whisper. I thought of the letter under her tongue. I felt the rope tighten in my mind. No, I said. I will not take your money. I reached for the confession. I held it high. I will not trade truth for silence. His face was white and wet. Snow crept on the steps. You are cruel, he said. Why kill me? Why be judge? Because you killed her first, I said. Because you took her voice. I put my hand on the rope. I felt rough hemp under my fingers. I thought about all the small hands that asked for help. I thought about how many times I closed my mouth. The dawn light came thin. It hit his face. He looked older than I expected. I felt pity and hate at once. Their faces make you soft then hard. I set the noose about his neck. The knot was rough and sure. He did not scream. He looked at me like he wanted to ask mercy. Say my name, he begged soft. Say it loud. He wanted confession to fly before breath left him. He wanted to be named with honor. You named her Silence, I said. You gave her no name. I tightened the knot a bit slow. Snow fell on his shoulders like ash. His eyes watered. He stopped moving. I thought of the letter again. Her last words came back. Don't trust the judge. She did not ask for vengeance. She wanted truth. I hung the man who wore law on his sleeve. I pulled with all my weight. He choked and coughed. His hands clawed at the rope in my coat. I did not let him down. He made sounds like the wind. The wind took them away. I counted the beats until the body went still. I listened to the silence that followed. I moved my hands away slow. I did not look at his face long. The gallows creaked in the cold. I left the confession on his chest. I left the paper open to the judge's neat script. The ink stood like a wound. I walked back to the town road. My boots sank in snow. I walked not like a free man. I walked like a man who held a weight inside. Someone will call me villain. Someone will call me hero. I do not know. I only know the rope remembered her. I only know the judge can no longer lie. I rode away when the sun rose. My hands still smelled of rope. I heard the church bell once. It tolled not for law. It tolled like a warning. A voice called from a nearby lane. You monster! Someone cried. I turned. I called back. Call me what you must. The voice answered. You will hang for this. I said, maybe I will. At least I'm done hiding. The lane fell silent again. The rope had taken her name. I carried it forward. My hands would never forget that feel. Not ever. I left before sunrise. The town slept hard. Ash lay on roofs and road. My coat smelled like fire. I told myself, keep riding. I did not look back. I went north, I whispered. I followed the rail fence. The wind pushed dust and cold. I know, I said softly. I heard you in the night. At the county gate, a lamp waited. A woman raised it to my face. Name and reason, she said. I came for a child, I said. For a promise and for justice. Talk to Mrs. Finch, she said. Her house sits by the church. Rain walked with me to town. I knocked on a blue door. A small boy watched through a crack. Hello, I said. I need help. Footsteps came and the door opened. Mrs. Finch stood pale and steady. You look cold, she said. You look lost too. I rode all night, I said. I came to ask about Elara. Her face changed at the name. You knew her? She asked. I worked at the court, I said. I wrote the papers for death. My voice failed on the word. She warned me before the rope. She lowered her gaze and sighed. I took her son last winter, she said. She begged me to hide him. Is he safe? I asked. He is safe, she answered. But safety needs truth more than money. The boy stepped into the light. He held a folded paper tight. Are you the man from court? He asked. Yes, I said. I was there. Did you help my mama? He asked. Silence cut the room in half. I tried too late, I said. I came to keep a promise. What promise? He asked quietly. I knelt to meet his eyes. I promised to guard your life, I said. I promised to carry her truth. He studied my shaking hands. Mama said truth is light, he said. She said it burns the dark. She was right, I said. Truth lit the judge like fire. Mrs. Finch poured tea and waited. Why did you come alone? She asked. The town talks about the judge. He paid at dawn, I said. She set the cup down slowly. Then the law will hunt you. They can hunt, I said flat. I will already be gone. The boy tugged at my sleeve. Do you ride far? He asked. Do you carry her letter? I showed the worn paper. She wrote this with brave hands, I said. She named the men who lied. He touched the seal with care. Mama drew a sun inside, he said. She always drew light for me. He ran and fetched another page. I made this, he said proudly. Mama holds light in her hands. Lines shone like a small dawn. It is beautiful, I said. You kept her voice alive. Take it, he said. You look sad. I will guard it, I said. I will guard you from the dark. He nodded like a small man. I am not afraid, he said. Mama told me the road remembers. I smiled despite the weight. Mrs. Finch opened a wooden box. She lifted a small brown bag. Elara left this for travel, she said. Soap, bread, and matches. She planned for storms and night, I said. She planned for my fear, too. Mrs. Finch touched my wrist. She planned for your change, she said. Do not waste what she paid. I stood to go and paused. Will you keep him safe? I asked. If the law comes with lies? She raised her chin and swore. This home will stand like stone, she said. My door will not open. The boy crossed the floor fast. He hugged me with sudden trust. Do not forget the light, he said. Do not forget my mama. I will not forget, I said. I will carry the promise. I tucked the drawing in my coat. I tucked the letter near my heart. I stepped into the rain again. The road smelled like wet earth. The church bell rang one time. Don't trust the judge, the wind said. The words felt softer than before. Thank you, I whispered to the air. I heard you when I fell. The wind curled around my hat. I forgive you, it seemed to say. My throat closed on that mercy. I set my boot in the stirrup. I rode west under a gray sky. Fields rolled like tired seas. The horse found a steady pace. I made peace with the past, I said. I will pay for what I did. Light broke through the cloud rim. The paper warmed against my chest. The drawing warmed my left hand. Light burns the dark, I said. And the dark now knows my name. A hawk turned slow above me. Rails flashed in the distance. Smoke rose from a town ahead. I guided the horse to the ridge. I looked back one last time. The county lay calm and small. Rest easy, I said to her. Rest easy and watch the road. I rode until the rain stopped. A crossroad cut the land clean. I reined in and listened hard. Wind moved through grass like water. I closed my eyes and waited. Are you there? I asked the light. The answer came like breath. Keep the promise, the wind said. I nudged the horse and obeyed.